Hello.
Hey.
For some reason, chicken is up. I don't know why. Let me just remove that straight away.
Well, it's Sunday. It's got me thinking about dinner now.
Easter, I guess.
It was Easter. So I just want to say hello to everybody. Vayman here. Today we're going to be talking about the music that got Davi and Boho Chevy through secondary school. We're all 40 or nearly. Otis, you're still 39, aren't you?
Yep, I am. I'm the youngest chick. Yeah.
So just be talking about the music that got us through and how that music still impacts our lives today. Before we start, it's Easter Sunday. How were your Easters? With brevity, obviously, don't go on for ages telling us about it.
Well, Chevy, you take the lead.
Okay, yeah, Easter was really good. Easter was fun packed, man. Started the day reverently with the church service. I got invited to church, took the kids, and then we met Peter Rabbit in the garden. He came round and we had a little party. Actually, we kind of hired entertainment, barbecue. It was great, man. It was great. How was it for you, Davey?
Well, for me, it has been wonderful. We are on lockdown, so you're not allowed to leave the house or go anywhere since midday yesterday, Saturday in Jamaica, until 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. So this is Easter for me right now. But I mean, I got the cooking done, everything's done. So I'm home, got internet, got entertainment, and got lovely videos, which is good. Gives me time to do a lot of reaction videos and like we're doing right now, have a few podcasts and keep in touch with everyone. So I suppose that's the bright side.
Good. And what about you, Duke of Homerton?
The Duke was doing lots of Dukey type stuff. What did the Duke do today?
Dukey.
The Duke done some. He put up a few bits of artwork around the house.
Nice.
He had yesterday's leftover Chinese for lunch.
Lovely.
It was actually very good. It was actually very good.
That could kill you, you know. That can kill you.
If I die during this, then you know what's happened. If I just keel over, I don't expect you to stop either. You just carry on.
No, we will carry on.
The show must go on.
Yes, exactly. Obviously, you can't end the broadcast because I think only I've got that power. So
you'll have to resurrect. You'll have to rise from the dead, end it, edit, put it out there, and then proceed to go back to the afterlife.
Exactly. So let's go back to 1992, guys.
Okay.
If you can all remember what we looked like back in 1992, it's pretty much looked the same. In all fairness,
I guess so. Without the flowery shirt, maybe I had a cap and headphones, but they would have been them spongy cotton, with the metal band going across
and the under the chin. The corner. There was no one wire headphone back then.
No, man. No, it would be into
Walkman. Walkman back in the day. Not even a CD player. Yeah.
I don't even think it was a CD player, Davey.
No,
it was a tape.
Yeah, no CD player at that time.
It was a cassette Walkman, and we had to get out our little pencils. That's not a euphemism, by the way. Like pencils to screw the tape tape back into the cassette.
Circles.
Stuck. Yeah.
Davey, and you pretty much looked the same as well, like a bit less beardy, and you kind of had this Bart Simpson kind of hairstyle going on.
Yes, because I was fresh-faced just from Jamaica, moving to the UK. So literally, I started Homerton's secondary boys' school in December. It was the week before we break for Christmas. That was my first week at school in the UK. So for me, it was like a completely different experience because, like weeks earlier, I'm in Jamaica, in a mixed school, primary school with all my friends, enjoying myself. And the next minute, now I'm literally in an all-boys school in a completely different country with all these different races that I'm never really used to seeing, which, like for instance, seeing, white people. You'd only see that as a kid in Jamaica when you go to the beach, the tourist areas. So to go from where, you're just not seeing any white folks or even winter, for instance, feeling cold, except when you open the fridge, to now I'm in a cold country that was just always dark. I never saw any sun. It was a complete culture change and shock for me. So it was a lot to take in at 11.
So
big change.
So that segues nicely. So talking about the culture, we were in year 7, year 8, year 9. So that's 92 to 95 roughly. Let's start with you, Otis. Let's talk about the songs. What songs and artists?
Songs and artists. Where do we all start? Where do we?
Had you suddenly discovered? Okay, let me give you a little breakdown, Otis, of what was number 1 in the charts in 92.
I never listened. I wouldn't have known. I kind of was disgusted with the charts. The charts to me
Even
was
in
like
92.
Even in 92.
Wow.
I hated the chart.
11-year-old.
No, it was
Wow.
like, because what I would hear at home, and then when I put on the radio, what I would hear was two different. It was like,
yeah,
you know,
I get you.
It was fake. It was fake. It wasn't
because it's a background, isn't it? I think it's our culture. What you hear at home, what your parents, especially Caribbean parents, they listen to deep music. Luther Vandross, Diana Ross, Michael Bolton,
and even the way they would sing. Totally, whatever they would sing, you would hear the vibrato in a lot of the songs, when they say, oh, or Whitney Houston, or they would have this. But then when you listen to radio, it was like flat. Pop. It was pop. Yeah, that's it. It was produced in, half an hour and you could hear it. So radio was something that you just skipped through when you heard it. And then you put a tape in straight away or a record. So I didn't know what was in the charts. Oh, Top of the Pops. We had Top of the Pops.
Yeah, so you would have known about the charts through Top of the Pops.
Yeah. So, but Top of the Pops was just like it was to me, it was fake. We would just look, because it was the only music videos in the house. We didn't have Sky, we didn't have this. Mm-hmm. So it's something to watch and see the people dancing about, but you wouldn't take it in as music. It wasn't really art, from a Caribbean culture.
So this is interesting as well, because the youth of today have YouTube. They literally have every single song ever written and made and recorded
in the
at their fingertips. We didn't have that. We had to wait for it to come on the radio or come on TV or save our hard-earned pocket money to actually go and buy those songs. And even then, it'll be on cassette.
Yeah.
So we'd have to rewind it like every time we wanted to listen to it.
Yeah.
To be fair, CDs were just becoming big now, but
but it wasn't popular then. It wasn't popular for at least another 2 years before CD player, and then you even got the portable CD players. Not until like 94-ish. Those times, that's when all of that started really becoming popular. But for me, unless you've still got more to say.
No, carry on, David P.
Do you want me to go through the number ones, or David, do you want to?
Well, I wouldn't even have really known, because let's face it, again, because of my background, where I'm coming from, everything was new to me. So I didn't know anything. The only thing that was actually quite interesting for me was having 4 channels to watch on TV. Whereas in Jamaica, back in the day when I was in Jamaica, we literally only had one channel. There was just one channel. And literally, I mean, it played everything, so that was great, because you got all the American stuff. So, like, you guys had Top of the Pops. We used to have what was called music, which is the same thing, where it gave you the charts of like all the popular music, but you'd get a lot of like American music as well as Jamaican. So, you'd get like all like the Diana Rosses, the Air Supply, Michael Bolton, everything that was popular, we'd get those on music, but that was every Saturday night or whatever. So when I came to London, and obviously everything being new for me, but for one, having 4 channels, so you didn't really know much, because again, the culture was still new for you. So, I suppose I would have to say the first year or so, it was more like a integrated process for me, trying to get integrated and understanding, the culture, the system, like even things like football. I know I'm kind of digressing, but like I remember my first friend when I got here in 92, like for my first Christmas, he was like to me, what football team you support? You should support Liverpool, because he's a Liverpool supporter. He's like, you should support Liverpool. And I'm thinking, what is support?
And how right they were.
I didn't even know what that was. So again, it was just more for me learning
Where
what
is
the
it?
culture was.
Yeah.
But the music, you know, again, when it came to music, it was just more a lot of what I listened, what my mom, stepdad listened to at home, which is a lot of like old school, like soul music, like, Michael Bolton, Diana Ross, Whitney Houston, the Jacksons, what's his name? Oh my God, Lionel Richie, that type of music. So
Yeah.
Air Supply, so I listen to a lot of real like deep old school music. Chicago, for those who's not familiar,
Oh, dear Lord, you're
for
listening
those of
to
us who,
Chicago in '92. Wow.
yeah. Oh, Chicago, come on now. Remember, you got it from featured in Karate Kid as well,
True. So let's.
So Peter Cetera. So that's the kind of stuff that I kind of was like familiar with to begin with.
So I think that's probably set you up for now as well, because you still love those soppy love songs even today.
Yes.
It's what's,
Well, it's like the
what's been
same thing.
imprinted. It's what's been imprinted upon you.
Well, what did you say, Manny P? We are products of our environment. So my
Exactly.
environment was a lot of those deep music. So I guess that's what makes me the corny guy that, I like poetry and the love songs, the deep music or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love some of the party music too or whatever. But, if I'm trying to like, if I was with someone, a lady, and I wanted to really like catch her interest, then, I'd be playing that. Then again, it would probably, judging by how the system is right now, that probably only would work with someone who's of similar age and mindset, because other than that, probably these young folks would think, what kind of music is that? Like, that's not no little boozy 205 or little 659 or whatever the hell they want to call themselves, these people now. So, it's different.
We'll have a conversation about that one day as part of this music series. We'll have a conversation about the music of today, I think, at a later date. But let's just I'm not going to mention all the number ones during 1992, but I think there's some tunes here which I think you'll agree are still absolute bangers even today. Snap, Rhythm is a Dancer.
Rhythm is a dancer. Na, 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 na.
If you can carry on doing that, that'd be great, because we're not allowed to play the actual songs because we'll just get a copyright strike. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome.
Rhythm is a dancer.
That's that boho Chevy right there.
Shimmy.
The Shaman, Ebenezer Good.
I don't know. No.
You must remember that one, Otis. Come on.
I don't know names.
He's a good. He's a good. He's Ebenezer Good.
No. There's no limit. What are they called?
That comes later, I believe.
Oh, there's no limit.
Boys to Men, End of the Road.
Now that we've come.
Yeah, that was huge. That was number one for was it 37 weeks?
Wow.
Not in this country, it wasn't. It was
number
one.
It broke records because it was
maybe in America.
It beat Elvis, because Elvis had like one of the longest number ones, and that was number one for a ridiculously long time.
Okay, well, it was number one here for 3 weeks, which isn't quite 37 weeks. But
3.7 here, but 37 in America.
Because think about it. Sorry to cut you, many people. I think because of the UK, they're really gonna still try and promote their kind of music. They're not gonna, don't care how popular the song is. They still wanna put who you want to put on there to make it number one.
Okay, but this is one of my favorite songs ever, believe it or not. Charles and Eddie, Would I Lie to You?
Would I lie to you, baby? Would I lie to you?
Would I lie to you, baby? Yeah, I love this. I love them. Yeah, my mom actually had the single.
Song. It's a timeless, great song.
Yeah, baby.
Even though they were kind of one-hit wonders, I do think, that level of songwriting, even today, I wish we had it.
I think they had 2 songs that was good around that time. That and another song. I don't know what it is. Probably.
I'm not familiar with them. Unfortunately, one of them passed away, actually, a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. Which one?
The black one, unfortunately, passed away.
They were with the kind of dreads.
No, neither of them had dreads. One had long, flowing, beautiful black hair.
Yeah, flowing. Yeah, I thought it was plaited or whatever.
Yeah, the other one passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You.
I remember when that tune dropped, and I was
that
like,
for the Bodyguard? That
Yes.
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
heard it
her and
in.
Kevin. Yeah, her and Kevin was great. The movie, the soundtrack.
I still haven't seen the movie, you know.
Neither have
you
I.
must
I've
be
never
out of your
seen it.
mind. You've not seen The Bodyguard.
No.
That is such a beautiful, beautiful film.
Oh God.
Hey.
Okay, we'll take a word for it. I'm
You should
personally
watch it.
not going to rush out to watch it.
I should. And Whitney Houston's in
You
it,
go out
right?
and watch it. Shame on you.
I
Seriously,
know,
now,
I know.
Manny P, you actually deserve to get that potato chucked at you now for that, for not watching that.
You try
Shame.
it. You try it.
Shame.
Shame upon shames.
Yeah, you too as well, Oat.
Yeah, I know.
You said the same thing too. You ain't watched it.
Like, I remember at Top of the Pops, and that tune came on, and it was powerful, man. It was very powerful. Just the way how it started, simple.
Yeah, with the,
And
like
then
you said, with the way
Yeah,
she
the
got her
vibrato and all
vocals.
that.
Yeah, that was
The
it.
resonance in that. There was energy. You could feel how she really put the, emotion. I
Feeling,
will
the
always,
soul.
the feeling. Yeah.
Were you sick of it by week 2?
No, I wanted to hear it more. When I heard it on the radio, if I was in a car, and you'd only catch the end part, and you'd be like, "Yeah."
And funnily enough, going back off that, she's actually one of the few artists that they actually speak about that they said when she actually did recordings, it was in one take. She only did one take for recording. Her voice was that
debating
good.
her talent at all.
Yeah, you could tell.
No, he wasn't. But I'm just saying that's just how good she was. Like literally, the woman could really, 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 really sing.
Natural, man.
Okay, so I think we can see that actually, round about when we were in year 7, things were quite innocent, weren't they? So as we were getting older, what songs really started to kind of, beginning with Otis, what songs really started to mold you and kind of
Which year? Which year was that? 90.
So that was 92 we just done. So going into 93, we're kind of looking at year 8 now. And I think this is when we started to form. I think we've kind of left behind our kind of primary school years, and now we're trying to be like big men, aren't we?
Yeah,
because we're now teenagers, literally. Coming up to teenage years now.
We're just really dumb teenagers trying to act big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just start with Otis.
We weren't teenagers yet, technically. We were going to be teenagers. 12
to 13.
Yeah, 12 to almost, because that would have been September.
Yeah, so it would have been 12 and 13 in year 8.
Almost 13.
And we'll move on to year 9 as well. But Otis, what kind of... You were getting into hip-hop now, right?
Yeah. Hip-hop was really... American music was really starting to... because I was, as you said, growing.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that type of music, it painted like a different life, a different culture, where people... Hip-hop, you had to go out and make a life for yourself.
Yeah.
So where you're singing, I don't know... lots of other different popular songs or gospel or jazz, but hip hop was like, okay, you're a man, you're going to create a life, and things are gonna oppose you in life, and hip hop was a way how to
voice your trials and tribulations. Yeah, because around that time, I think that's when, like, for instance, like gangster rap was starting to come out on the forefront. Went from conscious rap, like the old school 80s rap, the LL Cool J, to now where it's kind of coming out like, like more personalities was coming out, because that's when you kind of started having the emergence of, like certain gangster films that was slowly starting to come out.
Okay.
Like South Central LA, those type of films was near enough coming out around that time.
The 90s,
maybe a year or two later, but it was like the mid-90s, that type of thing. So again, the music was then reflecting that. So you were hearing a lot of things that we weren't aware of, like the struggles of minority in America.
That's
because
it.
was coming about that. The drug business, all the
it's like an education also, of the struggles, what life would bring.
But again, at the same time, it wasn't really an education for us, because we were, in a sense, we were sheltered. We're not from that environment, so we didn't know about guns on the street and drugs on the street or anything like that. I mean, let's face it, 93, that time, 93, you know, late 92, early 93, there wasn't a lot of like gun violence in London, even as violent as East London was, or, you know,
there wasn't,
there wasn't many. So, you know,
even stabbing, there wasn't really any stabbings or anything like that.
No, there wasn't that many of it. So again, you know, when you hear about that, you're just thinking, you know, you're thinking, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. But, you know, you're not thinking that it's actually a reality. It's not like now where we've got social media where you could actually go on there and you can see all these acts of violence and, you know, random school shooting. You can't see these things back then because there was no social media. There was no internet. So again, you know, things like that to us would have just seemed like, yeah, sounds cool, but you wouldn't think it was actually real because there was no reality for us in that aspect when it comes to that.
But when I was in them years, I remember a tune what came out, and it's the first tune what I actually wrote the lyrics to.
This is what I want to get into. This must have been a breakthrough moment for you.
Yeah, it was House of Pain.
Jump Around.
Jump Around, yeah, Jump Around. Yeah. That's one of the first lyrics I said, I got to learn that. I have to learn, you know, he's saying jump around. He's saying, you know, just enjoy life, jump around. And that
I think you must have forgotten this one, Matt Otis. Yeah. Before that, remember the one that we would have all known was Crisscross. Jump, jump. That would have been, that was like the popular one. You think like, you remember, because then you had people trying to follow them, like wearing the trousers backwards, which was like,
did either of you do that? Did either of you ever like?
I did, I did. And, you know, come on, Manny. You know, I would have done that, Davey. I put the trousers, and you know, the baseball top. I actually bought a baseball top and turned it around as well. It was way too big. But I was influenced a lot by it. The energy. I just loved it. I loved
it. My mama would have killed me. I couldn't have done that nonsense.
Did you get any comments in the street?
Well, I would, as you said, my mom didn't know. What I would do is, this is taking me back. Yeah, I would. There was a bedroom the toilet was right by the front door. So I'd be dressed, and when I go to the toilet, change, and then I'd run out the door. Yeah, a Superman, the black Superman, and my clothes would be the other way around. You know, no one would say anything. No one looked. They just probably thought I was a crazy kid. But hey,
that's amazing because when I remember the Crisscross song coming out, and I remember thinking, yeah, it's a decent tune. But now with nostalgia, I think back to it, and I kind of appreciate that song a whole lot more.
That was a powerful song for a lot of kids. I think I was a little bit younger than them. Like, I kind of thought, wow, they're big kids. Of course, in the movie, they had cars. I think there was hydraulic cars bouncing, and they were in sportswear, and they were, you know, they were cool. And what resonated with me is that they didn't have any parents with them. You know, there's no parents in the video. It was just them, and I was like, "Wow, I can't wait till I could."
Were they orphans?
I can wear my trousers backwards with no parents around.
You know,
this is why you need your mom and dad when you're young.
Now, Mama, I wear my trousers back to front.
You know, and my top and my cap, and you know, the hoodies, and they was just outside, and it was just freedom. It was just freedom, and they had the freedom to jump around.
Yeah, but speaking of that, I mean, look at it. They would have, if this was now, and, you know, as in social media was available then, they would have been huge star because they were, let's face it, they were like pioneers when it comes to young kids in the hip hop rap industry at the time, because there was no other. I mean, you saw there was always kids in the music business, but they were more of like groups for singing, like the Jacksons, you know, New Edition. They were all singers. But they were like the first one for rap that you can actually think of. You can't think of any other kids before them that did rapping.
No.
92, 93. Yeah, there's no one else. So they are literally like pioneers when it came to that. Because the only ones that came after them would have been Kid and Play.
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, but they were in their late teens by then as well.
But that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying there was no one before them. And nothing in between until you got to Kid and Play.
That's the thing. I think it was only after one of their members died. from Criss Cross.
Yeah.
I think people probably looked back and actually realised actually that was a big tune, and actually
That was a
that
slammer.
was a really important tune. I don't think at the time we really appreciated how important that song was to the
I
culture.
mean, even bloody what you call it was an important song as well. I mean, it's corny now that we've got Sense in the Kit, but back then, Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah, I used to love that.
That was a
I
tune.
love that
No
tune.
one,
I still love it. I still love it.
People will probably be embarrassed, some of them, to admit that they used to listen and dance to that. But back then, you know, you thought, oh wow, that was like the coolest thing ever, type of thing, or whatever.
And I'm still shocked, and at the time I was shocked. Why do people hate, like, the tune's banging? Why do people hate it? You know, I was like, whenever they would diss it, I would just be quiet. I'd be like, this, baby. Ding,
I
ding,
think
ding,
it
ding,
became
ding.
cool to diss it, didn't it? I think a lot of people liked the song, but they just weren't comfortable coming out and saying, yeah, I like it. I listen back to it now and I think it's actually a really good song.
Yeah, it was a good song. I enjoyed it. Like, I mean, back then you also had, which was, I mean, it would have been technically late 80s, early 90s. You had what's his name? MC Hammer.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
You know, with the trousers, with the, you know, Hammer Time. That was one of the best. That was one. Come on now, that was one of the best rap hip hop artists around at the time. Remember, it was so popular that they made the cartoon series.
It
used to come on channel. Yeah, you remember on Channel 4 that used to come on or whatever.
I'm so
glad on the magical shoes. And the little shoes. The shoes would talk, innit? I think.
Yeah, the shoes would talk. When he put them on, he became Hammerman or whatever.
Put on the medical shoes and he became.
Remember, whenever there's a crime,
Hammerman. That was it back then.
It was cool. Manny wants to explode with laughter.
Manny P, think about it. That influenced our childhood in the sense we had those.
100%.
We had such great shows because, again, that linked to even the music. What we watched back then all linked. Like, you know, you had like Captain Planet. You know, when you think of like the 90s, when I think of those, you know, that era, I think of those music. I think of like Captain Planet, Defenders of the Earth, you know, all those Transformers, all those awesome stuff. It's just all in the same. When I think of that era, I just think
we had a far better childhood than the kids of today, without doubt.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I was young when I was young, as opposed to being young now.
But every generation says that.
Yeah,
but you know what? I think they have a better childhood than us. You know why I say it, Manny P? Not because their stuff is better than ours, but the fact that now they've got technology at hand where they can actually get access to all of our stuff. So they get to enjoy what we enjoyed, and they also have some stuff too. It's kind of like someone getting your cooking. It would be like me coming to your house, getting some of the food that you cook, then I go across to Otis' house and get some of what he cooks. So I'll have more than what I had if I just got to yours, which is what they have.
Saying,
we don't have nothing before.
I get what you're saying, but it's not special anymore. So, like, say, for example, House of Pain. If you love that song, you could bang it out as often as you want.
Yeah.
But in our time, if I always heard House of Pain once a day, it would be a big thing.
Yeah.
As soon as that song comes on, you're up and you're literally jumping.
Pack it in. Let me begin. I came to win, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, literally, it's when you had to go to little parties back then. That's the only time you get to hear your song multiple times that you like, because we didn't have no YouTube, nothing where you could just go and download and stream or whatever. That was a big no. That was not even available to us.
The songs were more valuable because we didn't have the opportunity to hear them as often.
True. So you appreciated them when you did hear them. You know, it was just like
you was lucky to hear them. Yeah, I was lucky to hear some of the songs. What else? Then after that, drum and bass. Because I wanted to.
Was this during our school years?
Yeah. With Graham, you remember Graham, Gavin Nicholas, Frankie,
Frankie Camp.
Yeah. And that, because the music, I always wanted to have my own, not my own personal music, but first it was the Caribbean music and my dad's country and western music. So it's country and western. Dolly Parton.
That's in of course. That's in all Caribbean house. Like, you know, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, You know,
Yeah.
you can't go to an old school Caribbean house in them time
Really?
and not hear some like some Kenny Rogers.
That's interesting because when Kenny Rogers,
Promise my son not to do
when
the
Kenny
things
Rogers
I've
died,
done. Walk away from trouble. Them kind of music there. Literally,
yeah.
that's what you literally like grew up on.
because when Kenny
Literally
Rogers
grew up on
died,
all
like
of
lots
that.
of hip hop artists on their Instagram account had these huge moving tributes to Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
But again,
So,
remember, Manny P, a lot of real hip hop artists who was in our age group
yep,
or older, that's their era as well, what they grew up
yeah,
on, like Smokey Robinson, all those
yeah.
kind of people come under the same category. They're from that era. So literally that's what you grew up on. And if you look at it, a lot of those music also influenced a lot of other artists for their kind of music, what they'll go into.
Mm-hmm.
So that it had a big part on all of our childhood or whatever. The only difference now, which I think that's the only great thing about society now, is I think now people are, because no one wants to offend anyone or whatever. I think now people won't discriminate if someone come out and said, "Oh, you know what? I like so and so from back in the day or whatever." No one will look at them and say, "Oh, that's weird." Whereas I think a lot of times in our time, a lot of people wouldn't have even said, "Oh, I'm listening to Michael Bolton." Like when I'm going to Hummer, and like we said, I wouldn't have come out and said, "Oh yeah, I'm bumping
Yeah.
Michael Bolton."
Oh, you remember
at
beating you up
home."
in the playground? Like,
Exactly.
you did that often.
You'd literally get beat up in the playground because coming to 93, 94 time, like you're saying now, it's when it was moving away from, even though bashment, like reggae, dancehall was big, it started to go into garage. Garage was starting to like emerge or whatever, and jungle music, I
That's
should
it.
say.
Yeah.
Jungle
Yeah.
music was like coming out or whatever. And again, that was like big, but to me, that was like the weirdest thing ever. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
how the hell do you dance to this kind of thing? Like, it's like going 100 miles an hour, and hearing them, I was like, what the hell? Right? I'm like, yeah, this is English stuff for you, all right?
This is the
I'll stick,
Europeans.
I'll stick to Buju Banton, thank you very much. And the only one English reggae artist that you knew then was Shaggy
Oh, okay.
and
Okay.
UB40. Shaggy, remember Shaggy came out with the "Oh Carolina,"
Carolina.
voila. That was like back in them day as well
I
too.
hated that song.
Actually, Davian, as an actual proper Jamaican, as opposed to everyone we went to school with who called themselves Jamaican but never actually visited Jamaica. Were you kind of like, did you see that as kind of a bit dilute? How do I say it? Kind of like
like culture
bit too
vulture.
commercialized
Yeah.
to represent you.
No, because you know what? Actually, well, to be fair, it's not like there was many of Shaggy's songs that we knew. It was just the only ones I knew was like "Oh Carolina," which was like that was the one that you remembered. And then after that, he did the one which was famous because it did the Levi jeans.
It wasn't me.
Mr. Bombastic. Remember the Levi jeans advert with the guy and he's sliding down the wire with the jeans, with the Levi jeans. That was like one of his next one or whatever. And the other reggae song that we knew, which I didn't like the song, but now I got older, I appreciate it, which was that "No, no, no, you don't love me anymore." I thought that song was so boring and it just sounds so old. But now as you get older and you really appreciate music, it's amazing. It's a beautiful song because, again, you look at artists like Sean Paul, and if you look at Sean Paul's song for "I'm Still in Love," it kind of is similar to that type of thing. It's got that kind of old feel to it as well. So again, all these kind of artists will influence all different types of people. So yeah, it was weird. But again, I didn't know much to say I dislike Shaggy or didn't like. I like the stuff that I knew. As I got older, and then for instance, like in the later years when he got really, really famous, my actual uncle, who's like, one of like the big top producers here in Jamaica, reggae producers. And I mean, he's like real old school. He's a big man. I'm talking, he's worked with like Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff, what's his name? Beres Hammond. These are the kind of people that he likes. Even a big famous American people like Shaka Khan, you name them, he's worked with all of them. He was actually supposed to do the album. You remember the album that Shaggy did with Hey Sexy Lady, I like your flow. your body's moving. It was like a kind of like a Latino. It had that kind
I
of like
remember. Yeah,
flamenco,
It's got Otis moving.
flamenco feeling. Your body's whirling, hurling, hurling, all that. Like that album when that came out. My uncle was supposed to produce that album, and he's like, "No, I ain't doing it because he ain't no real proper reggae artist. Because he's more old school type of stuff. He likes real reggae, like them
certified.
Rastaman reggae,
Yeah.
like conscious music." And he's like, that's like goes back to what many people were saying. It was like more like watered down commercial.
Yeah.
So he didn't look at it like it's real reggae or whatever. But Shaggy did contribute a lot to the reggae music. Overall, like he did a lot to help put reggae music on the forefront for a lot of people who didn't.
I guess you get introduction artists, don't you? Like an artist that will introduce somebody to that style of music through the mainstream, and then through that introduction, you kind of find the real artists within that genre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it gives you like literally a sense of like, oh, so he does that, and then they got like UB40. It gives you like a lot of options to go and look, and if you're a music person, to try and find, which we didn't have much, anything at hand, like any technology to go and like let me go on YouTube and did this. But you'd listen, and it would make you more open to actually listening to other reggae music if that was your introduction to it, because you're like, well, if he's singing that good and he's not really a proper one, I wonder what a proper one sounds like, that type of thing. So that was, again, it was a great time for music.
It was. So let's just take it back to hip hop, though. I don't think we fully explored hip hop. So NWA Straight Outta Compton actually came out in 1988.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what we experienced when we got into secondary school, 92, was kind of the fallout of NWA. So what we had essentially was like Dr. Dre and Ice Cube doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I think what was influencing us at this point now is suddenly Dr. Dre introducing people like Snoop Dogg onto the scene. I think Doggy Style was a huge album for our generation.
Yeah, but that was more what, 94, 95?
Doggy Style? I think it might be 92. Let me check.
I thought that was too rude when I was young. I didn't really. I'm being honest. Yeah.
93. It was 93.
93. Oh.
Like I liked Jump Up. Like House of Pain, Jump.
Yeah.
Naughty by Nature. Go. I like that. And then that Jump.
Naughty by Nature was hardcore as well. So
and Onyx. You're right. And Onyx. And
Onyx.
But who was it? Snoop Dogg. Yeah. The drugs and the girls I didn't really like too much.
Really, at such a young age, you were already kind of like, this is too much.
Yeah. I was like, and it was kind of too. It was gangster rap. It was kind of too.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It was like the introduction of like to a world that you wasn't aware of, which that's the kind of things you wouldn't have been able to watch at home. If it was on,
even the tape cover, I couldn't. If yeah.
Yeah, it was sexualizing dogs, that tape cover.
Yeah, and because I was so young, that didn't resonate with me. I was too young for all of that. Like,
I remember talking to a friend of mine, one of my best friends, and he said that he persuaded his auntie to buy him the Doggy Style album, and he was playing it in his room once, and his auntie was like, "What the hell are you listening to? Turn that off now."
Yeah. You're dirty little.
That's them days where when you listen to bad music, they'll be like, "Yes, we're taking you to church. The devil's in you."
You've been, I don't know,
possessed.
Yeah.
But how do you think that kind of influenced everyone else around us? Like suddenly, like Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube and stuff like that coming through.
Well, I think it had both a negative, creative, and also a realistic, what can I say, imprint on society. Because in the sense, like it had a negative where it basically made certain members of society like think that if you're a black person, then, you're all about, gangsters, drugs, drinking, gin and juice, and robbing folks, and like doing all kind of criminal stuff or whatever. On a creative point of view, it made a lot of young people think, oh, so I could actually talk about my day-to-day life, what I'm actually going through, and that will actually work because someone else is going to actually go through it. Because let's face it, a lot of people probably never realized that you could actually make music talking about, as graphic as it may be, but what's actually happening in your community. So it was kind of educational as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much at the time to many other culture, because to them, especially if you're not witnessing and you're not living something and it's not in your face day to day, then you're just thinking like, nah, nothing like that really happens. You know, when you hear about people rapping about, yeah, standing with my homie and he got his brains blew out in front of me and blah blah blah, you know, they're thinking, no way, nothing like that would ever happen, because we're from a society or a culture where things like that was not the norm.
Yeah.
So
is it
to
art
hear that, you're
imitating life,
thinking
or is it life imitating art?
yeah, you're thinking, nah, this is just them that just watched a few gangster movie and they just want to just like, you know, minority it up, to put it politely, you know, just put their spin on it. But they didn't realize that things like this was actually really going on. It's not until now, like the introduction of social media, where they can actually see things like that. They could actually see like, oh, wow, you know what, this is actually something. But also at the same time, again, with someone like, for instance, like Ice Cube that we're speaking about, you know, here's a guy who went from NWA, you know, when he made his album, when he went solo to America's Most Wanted, which was talking about all kinds of stuff, you know, No Vaseline, which is about rat beefing, to him then making one of the most classically loved hood movie, if you can use that term, which is Friday. That is literally like, that is, you can't go to any hood in America and speak to someone, and if you say, they're like, oh, have you seen Friday? And
Boys
they
in
would
the
be
Hood,
like, oh,
yeah.
what is that? Or Boys in the Hood, because that is like, it's like a theme song
Holy Grail, yeah.
for, yeah, a holy grail for the community, because it spoke volume. Because again, for us on the outside, we're thinking, probably not realistic. It's just all entertainment. But for Americans, and especially for the black community, why it did so well was because it resonated with them, because what they were seeing on TV is things that they were going through day to day. And to actually see someone that looks like them, that
On
came
the
and gave a
TV.
good account of what's actually happening to them and around them, made it such a success, because they didn't get paid big money for that movie. They all got like $5,000 small money.
Oh,
Because
really?
they didn't think it was going to do. Yeah, when you look at it, like literally, when on the late John Witherspoon, what he was speaking about, that they actually got paid $5,000 for it, to
For what,
star
Boys
that
in the
movie.
Hood?
No, for Friday.
Friday, okay.
Because again, it was independently done by Ice Cube, and literally they didn't think it was going to be big, because they never had any big, you know, Hollywood studios
Audience,
behind them that was going to put any big budget in. So it was just them doing something, and again, it just went humongously large, like to the point that, you know, one of the most famous lines from there, something that two of the most famous lines from there, something that gets used commonly to this day, you know, like, you know, you got knocked the F out is something that people
Bye,
use
Felicia.
all the time, and by Felicia, which get used by everyone, you know, not
Even
just
today.
by people from our culture, but from everyone. You know, I saw a recent news report of like a black news anchor who got racially abused online by a white guy in America, and literally she was like, you know, addressing the issue online, and you know, when she finished, she was like, "Bye, Felicia," and literally everyone knew exactly what that meant. Type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can use that, something as simple as that, where it's got no profanity. It's like a big insult, depends how you use it, to put someone in their place, like that, oh, mic drop type of thing or whatever. So, you know, I think it did a lot for the culture, like, you know, the hip hop music, even though it was very controversial, you know, it did a lot to bring out a lot of people creative side, because then you wouldn't have known about a lot of how much of a great influence a lot of those people like Ice Cube would have had on society, because of them being able to freely express themselves.
So I think that's fair. I'm going to go through a few of the songs that were number one in '93. See if they ring any bells for you guys.
I like your T-shirt.
Thank you.
First Strike. Is it Cobra Kai?
Cobra Kai.
It is.
Yeah, man.
Cobra Kai.
Hiya! Yeah.
Hip hop day. No, wrong
That's
one.
not Cobra Kai, but
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe the Wakandans will make a guest appearance in the
Yeah,
next series of
literally.
Cobra Kai. Who knows? But yeah, there's some interesting songs here. Who remembers? Who remembers Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince?
Boom,
Shake the Room.
shake the room.
Take the
Boom,
yeah.
shake. Yeah.
God, that was a song.
To me, again, it was a hype. You know, I said I like these jump around. These kind of tunes
that
just
was a party
resonated
song.
with me. Yeah. As soon as I heard that the first time on Top of the Pops, and I seen him jumping, he had Dr. Martens. I think them Dr. Martens boots, you remember?
Timberlands. Timberlands he would have been rocking.
Yeah.
Dr. Martens is our English version, but it was Timberlands them Americans would have been rocking.
Yeah. And there was baggy jeans, and they was just having a good time, you know, and I loved it.
Yes, I think Otis, as long as the song has got the word jump in it, I think you'll love it. I think that's what I've learned from this discussion so far.
Or a boom. If it's got a boom in it, which means like boom, you jump up, you're startled. That thing kind of like jumping. Startled, jump.
Who remembers Gabrielle Dreams?
Yeah. Dreams can come true. Look at me, baby, with you. You know you got to have them. You know you got to be strong.
Like she's here.
With the patch over her eye.
Yeah, that was wicked.
Ace of Base, all that
always
she wants.
The stories behind it, like why she got the patch over her eye. I remember one of the stories I heard was like, she was working in the job center and she didn't give someone their gyro and they stabbed her with a pen.
Those job centers, you know, they
it could have been 90s. That could have been true.
Hey, it was the 90s. That was our hood. That was our hood.
So Ace of Base, all that she wants.
All that she wants is another baby.
She's gone tomorrow because all that she wants is another baby.
I love the way you just finished and Davey just took over.
It's beautiful.
That's it.
We've covered them, Shaggy, Oh Carolina. And then we had like 2 Unlimited, No Limits, which we've already mentioned, and that was number 1 in '93. But I think that also was the we started seeing all these kind of like European dance songs really coming during the 90s. And again, back then I probably didn't appreciate them that much. Now I listen back to some of them and I think, God, these are amazing songs.
Yeah,
some of them.
I had a listen. I used to go ice skating with Abdul back in the day, and there was a few Lee Valleys, yeah. I used to go ice skating, and someone I went there late. I didn't know about it and ice skating, but someone dragged me, and then I saw like half a Homerton there. I was like, wow, you know. And then they used to play these kind of. It was in this by your. Yeah, Gavin Nicholas and Graham and them kind of guys.
What was mine by?
It was by Hackney Roundup.
I know where it is.
Down where the number 55 bus. Yeah. The number 55 bus.
And I used to walk from London Fields all the way to Mare Street, all the way to Clapton Pond.
Wow.
And then all the way down to Lee Valley. And ice skate. And have to walk all the way back after 5 hours of ice skating. Just to, you know.
See, the kids today don't know the struggle. But what tunes were banging in the ice rink?
Like No Limit, Ace of Base. But these tunes, You're My Wonder, cause maybe Oasis.
Where is that time?
Is that later?
In 93, 94. Yeah, Oasis was more 95.
Okay. But
I think.
Yeah, I went to
you're the checker. You're the fact checker. Think of this as a debate.
I'm more comfortable in my seat.
Let me have a look.
Sorry, Mr. Debater. You know, you're supposed to be the moderator here. You're supposed to be fact checking.
Man, it came out in 95, so yeah, I guess I was.
I was right. I said 95.
Yeah, it was late. I was one of the late guys.
I can't stand Oasis, so what can I say? But yeah, I think a lot of those songs are banging. Do you remember the Nightcrawlers?
Nightcrawler.
What they sang?
And they had that. I'm not going to sing it, but they had that music video where they're kind of in the the photo booth, and it's like the white guy with long blonde hair, and all the models are kind of dancing around him.
I never watched videos really back.
Oh, it's
I'd
me
have
and
to hear
you
this.
have had
I'd
long
have to hear this
conversations
song.
about this song.
I'd have to hear that song to know what you're on about.
Nightcrawler by who?
No, the song was called the Nightcrawler. Was called
Yeah.
was by the Nightcrawlers.
Okay. I know there's a movie in 2014.
The song was called "Push It."
Push It.
What? Push it.
Push the feeling on.
You got me there.
Okay, well after we're finished, you listen to that song.
And I go, oh yeah, that one.
But there were other songs as well. Like, do you remember like "The Bomb"? These sounds fall into my mind.
These sounds all into my mind.
Yeah, literally, like that was the. It was like, oh damn, like
Actually,
cutting, like the white folks say, like you'd be cutting shapes with them kind of music.
It was sampled. Actually, was a sample of a Chicago song. Which,
oh really?
Yeah. I've actually got both versions. I've actually got the original Chicago version, and
you'll have to send me that and WhatsApp it to me.
But I think what we had was like suddenly all these dance songs coming in.
Yeah.
And I think that changed a lot as well for us.
Yeah, because that time, what was going on? It was the like a lot of the vocals were like, how can you say, soul, black gospel music, and they mixed that with the.
Yeah,
so you had a new sound, like literally now there's like a new category of music.
Yeah, No Limit, no, all these strong vocals. It wasn't soft vocals, it was very strong, like black vocals with the house, and then that pumped it, and then after that, drum and bass kind of come with the jungle, with the reggae and the acid, or the reggae and the electro, or
electronic music.
Yeah,
I did have a 90s dance playlist on my Apple Music, but half of it's been deleted for some reason. But some of the songs coming up. Do you remember Dr. Alban, It's My Life?
It's my life, it's my life, my life.
Big tune, big tune. Again, I never appreciated it when I was young, but now I look back and I think it's one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah, I love that tune because he was singing, he was saying, "It's my life," and I was young, and I was like, what? Like, there's so much possible. When I was young in the 90s, the 90s, there was so much possibility, as you could say. So the music was like a soundtrack to all that possibility, especially in London.
The imagination of what you can do and what you can't. Because let's face it, back then when you listen to certain music, it gave you a certain feeling where you feel, oh, you could do this or you could do that. Like, you felt like there wasn't nothing that you couldn't do based on what you was listening to. Like, you know,
you had
like
good energy.
Yeah, like when you watch certain programs back then, like, when you watching, like, back then, that's when you had like the X-Men. That's when, like, the cartoons was like amazing. You had X-Men, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk. So literally, going like 94, 95, that time when you had all those music actually resonated with you. If I'm like, oh, I could do anything type of thing. Like, literally, like, when you think of those music and you think of, it's like now when you listen to certain music, it takes you right back to that time. It takes you right back to that era of where you was, and a memory of what you were doing back then.
Exactly, and again, like, there were some big tunes, and I think a lot of these songs were quite uplifting as well.
Yeah,
but I don't think we get that in the charts today, especially with a lot of the stuff. It's just such a downer, a lot of it. But some of these songs are just so uplifting. I've moved on to 94, the number ones, like Baby D, Let Me Be Your Fantasy.
Let me be a fantasy.
Again, I never appreciated that song when I was young, but I look back now and I think this is a classic tune. I mean, this is an amazing song.
As well with that, the vocals, like "Let me be a fantasy." There's the vibrato in there. There's it wasn't a flat singing song. It was like you could tell the vocalist was like a soul singer or something.
But they were doing a different type of music, because now with the emergence of all these different types of category of music that you could now do, I think a lot of artists who probably maybe they was afraid because they probably couldn't compete on the scale of what a traditional hip hop, old school soul singer, could do. So now that they had a platform that they could actually go and do, whether it be techno music, whether it be jungle, whatever they could use, because you had some of these great music, that like, different category music that had great choruses. And what made the chorus great? The fact that the singer was amazing. The singer could sing really good. But because now they felt that they could actually take their talent and try it on a different genre of music, and it was acceptable, they didn't feel like, oh, they'll be judged in a bad way. So it was okay. And especially in that day and age with those music, a lot of those music that was the pioneering time for those music. So there wasn't already a bar set that they had to follow. So they were actually the first. So if you're the first, there's no one for you to look at to say, well, that's the bar, I've got to, I can't be below that bar. You're actually starting it, so there's no bar. So whatever you do, you're the first for it. So I guess he was more free that you could actually do certain things.
Yep, really definitely. So like even like with that Baby D song, the actual piano riff, you can transport that piano part from that Baby D song and put it into any kind of pop song or serious kind of emo song, and it's still going to stand up. It's still a great piano riff, like regardless of what genre that song is from. And and as you were talking about the vibrato, like with which the vocalist sings it with, if you compare that with today, where it's okay to get away with mumbling for an entire song,
literally, that's the only word you'll probably understand in a song now. Like,
and that's it. That's enough to get you through it.
And they're like, oh, that's a hit right there. Literally, that's like number one next week.
Have you seen Pootie Tang?
Literally, that's what I was just gonna say. Where literally that was before trolling. We knew what trolling was, but literally they were trolling back then to say literally. You'd literally be hearing nothing, and you got the dad coming into the room like, turn that noise down, and literally nothing was playing or whatever. And it comes to show now that literally that's exactly what some of these music are. It's literally nothing being said for like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and it's just like, yeah, that's a hit. That's like number one or whatever.
That's good. Yeah.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's so true, and compare that with like this amazing vocal that girl does for that Baby D track. Is just it's amazing. Looking at other songs, 94. So sorry, where am I? Still in 94. We had Prince come out with The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. I love you're not going to find a bigger Prince fan than me. But again, Prince was kind of tapping into that kind of scene, that kind of musical style at the time, and executed it beautifully. But I think what we were seeing as well was the kind of dawning of the age of the club of like the club scene in the 90s. Which I think we just missed out on because obviously we were all still in school and couldn't really go clubbing at our tender ages, unless you two were sneaking in.
Yeah, I was.
No, I didn't really. I mean, it's not until, for me, my clubbing days didn't really start until, like, I'd say 97. Yeah, 97, 98, when I was like 17, like, you remember you had SW9.
SW1? Okay.
Or is it SW1? SW1, I think it was. By near Victoria Station.
Yeah, the arches and stuff like that.
Yeah, so again, that was more like 97, 98, when I was like 16, almost 17. And then, because, you're just growing a little mustache, you're just getting a little deep in your voice, so you go with a few friends and, you had a few, and I think that a lot of them knew. But again, back then, you also had that, which was kind of cool, where, a lot of bouncers, they knew back then when you were going clubbing, you were going for the music, just for that, just to have fun. So even though you may have been underage, in a lot of cases, sometimes they would let you in, when it wasn't that super busy, they'd let you in, when it was overcrowded, they'd be like, let me see your ID.
I remember a friend of mine, he went to a club, it was called Capital Club in Leicester Square. It's something different. But he went to the doorman, and he must have been 16 or 17 years old, and he showed the doorman his ID, and the doorman asked to see he showed him his wallet, and he picked out the wrong bit of ID. He picked up his fake ID. No, he picked up his real ID, which said he was 16. Put that one back in the wallet and picked up his real ID, which said he was 18, and let him through. So he knew he was 16. He just smiled to himself and was like, "All right, go on."
Yeah, he's travelled all the way. Go on, enjoy yourself.
And I think it's also how you look as well, because, you know, if you see someone where they look like, you know, for instance, you see someone like an Otis coming in with a smiley face, you think, yep, these guys are coming in to have fun, as opposed to you'll get someone that's coming in with like a screw face. You're like, oh yeah, these guys look like they're going to come in for like problems. They're not going to let that person in. They're quicker to let you in, give you a blight, even though they know you're underage, just for the simple fact that they know that, you know what, this is actually someone who's coming out just to actually have a good time or whatever. And, you know, I got let in clubs a lot of time back then, you know, when I was like 17, you know, than I did when I was like, you know, that I probably would have gotten into, because when I looked, you know, they looked at me, they thought, oh yeah, he's coming in to have fun or whatever. And literally that's exactly what it was. You know, I came in just to go and dance and have fun and, you know, listen to music and then nothing else. Like, you know, I never had no bad intention, you know, coming out to start trouble or nothing. Like, I mean, you know, it would be crazy. I mean, you did have people who was doing that, but you also had people who genuinely wanted to just go out just because that's the only time you get to probably hear your music in public, that you weren't hearing it on the radio or you might see on TV.
And through proper speakers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
My ears would ring the night. If you remember, our ears, because we had little virgin ears, isn't it? So
the next day and a half, your ears are still ringing.
Just so you know, ears are meant to remain virgin. I don't know what you've been doing with your ears, but
music. Give it to them ears, music. Give it to them ears, music. Hey, Bombay! Literally, no, you don't do that.
But yeah, I think as well, like, oh God, there's a few points I want to make about this. We were walking into nightclubs at this time, and by the way, I hated clubbing, so I didn't go that often.
I hated it.
You hated it as well?
I hated it, man. It was hours. What
I thought you liked it.
Like, I did like it after, but in my teens, I didn't like. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't like Snoop Dogg. I didn't like these. I didn't. If it wasn't my environment, and it wasn't the environment what I liked, then it was too old for me. It was too old.
What if they were playing jungle?
Yeah, they were playing jungle as well.
And you still were like,
used to like the Hackney carnivals and the carnivals, you know, because it was outdoors. But as you know, dark and loud, I don't really like, you know.
So let me just quickly tell you when I decided nightclubs just weren't for me. So I'm sat there. I've gone with a bunch of my friends. And do you know what it's like when you're in a nightclub? You go with like 4 or 5 of you, but within half an hour, you all split up, kind of like doing your own thing in different parts of the club.
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you at this time when this happened?
17 or 18. Okay. But I remember just like sitting by myself on like this little couch area, just like minding my own business, just wondering like when we can go home. I mean, we've probably only been there for like 20 minutes, to be fair, as well. And I'm just sitting there minding my business, and this guy kind of like jumps up on the couch and starts cavorting his crutch in my face.
Yeah, you know how to attract them, don't you, man? B?
He just singled you out.
yeah, you bastard, you Duke of Homerton. You want this thrusting? Look at this pelvis movement. Elvis ain't got nothing on me. Elvis ain't got nothing on me.
I'm Disco Stew. You know, he's done.
Yes, at that point I realised this isn't for me. But yeah, I mean, you were both going clubbing at a younger age than you should have been. But what was it like hitting the club and suddenly having like hearing Baby D, for example, coming through those big speakers, through that proper sound system on the dance floor?
Well, I think by that time when I was like, you know, at that age, it was a lot more hip hop and R&B that was taking over. When you go to like 97, 96, 97, you know, before we finished high school, you know, secondary school, as we call it in the UK, literally you had a lot more like, do you remember on MTV and the nights on MTV back then at usually about 10 o'clock, you used to have MTV Amore. where they played all the hip hop, the smooth hip hop. You'd remember you had first it used to be, oh my god, what is her name?
I
can't
remember your
her
MTV
name.
Raps. I don't remember MTV
Yeah,
anymore.
but you had a more where that's one of the first channels, the first shows that is it Cat Deely, who used to be a present for MTV. She took over. There was an original dark-haired lady, and she was stunning. She used to present it, and then she was replaced by Cat Deely on there. But literally played a lot of like R&B, Genuine, Pony. That's when Genuine, Aaliyah, was coming out. They were quite big then. Timbaland, Missy was just coming out. You also had Biggie was kind of getting big there around that time.
Biggie was getting big, yeah.
Literally, Biggie was getting
quite
big.
A slim man before.
Yeah,
he's getting big now.
Metaphorically speaking, he was already big physically, literally. But that was big. So again, I didn't go do a lot of clubs, but I did a lot of like, for instance, like Alexander Palace, which also had the skate ring. On Friday nights, you'd go up there, they'd be playing all those kind of music on when you're ice skating, all those hip hop music. And then they also used to have parties every now and again, summer parties there. And when they had those, again, you get all those kind of music, the hip hop. And then they also had a time where they would do like hip hop versus garage and jungle versus jungle, I should say, jungle music
versus garage. Yeah, I remember hearing.
Yeah. And they also had the old soca versus bashment. Again, those were like the kind of things that was coming out. So again, I've been to a few of those like parties, and again, those is like, it was fun because a lot of people that was going there was just literally going just for that, just to enjoy the music and have a good night. And again, it was just like a different mindset. It was like, to be home where you weren't really getting to hear this that much on TV, to now you're out, and you're actually hearing them playing all those music that you'd hear your friends tell you about, and now you're actually hearing it for yourself. And it was like, it was fun. It was new, it was fun.
But do you think because of the type of music, it was a lot more like a uplifting, positive experience going to the clubs, because the music you were listening to, some of it, especially the dance music, did have that kind of positive, uplifting element to it, whereas today a lot of it's kind of not. Do you think that plays a factor?
Well, yeah, because again, look at it. I mean, in those times, the music, you're a product of your environment. So our entire, in general, just the whole landscape of things, just society, was quite innocent in some aspect when it came to music and a lot of things. Because let's face it, things like foul language in music wasn't popular. It wasn't like a day-to-day thing like we hear now. So therefore, because it was more innocent in the sense, I mean, someone like a Snoop Dogg, where if you look by today's standard, Snoop Dogg is bloody PG compared to, well, he is PG compared to some of the crap that you hear now. So back then, he was considered like a renegade that was like rough and like, like, wow, like he's bad and violent. I mean, he was quite tamed. Then you had like around that time, when it was slowly evolving, you had the emergence of DMX. DMX came out like in '96. When DMX came out with,
was it '96?
Yeah, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. That's when that album came out. That album was like ridiculous. Like, I mean, DMX is actually responsible for the normalization of minorities and now, well, everyone walking around with pit bulls. DMX was the one. When you saw those Rough Rider anthem video, it was, where my dog at, it's DMX with his pit bull. And literally after that, everyone started getting pit bull. You'd see all these young skinny dudes,
young little skinny, can't even look after themselves.
It's like a runaway car, and they're trying to hold on to the back bumper, trying to stop it. That's how some of them literally look getting dragged by these pit bulls. So the culture was slowly starting to change then to where, like, like gangster music is now like the thing. Like, if you're not talking about that then in rapping, then no one really want to take you serious type of thing. So it was slightly changing from being an innocent mindset where you weren't really used to that thing to now where this is the life. And then you had more gangster movies coming out. which goes with that music. And again, it was slowly shaping what you're seeing. So
Crime
from then
life.
on, you're then starting to hear about more and more gun crimes in the UK, like in our society. People that we know, people we even went to school with, was getting, between 97, 98, like shortly after that was getting, going gunned down with gun
Involved. Yeah.
violence and involved in gun violence, because slowly they started thinking that they
culture,
could
innit?
relate to that music. Yeah, that was the norm. So even though they weren't from that society, they started to like, it's a case of
Ingest it.
life now imitating art instead of art imitating life. So they're using the art form, what these people were singing about, and then starting to make it like a regular occurrence in their day-to-day life, like it's the norm. When a lot of them, if you look at it, a lot of those people who were doing those things in that time never experienced any of those kind of struggles what these American people was actually rapping about, because they never had none of that day, the police swarming down on your block and shoot your homie next to you. There was none of that going on in Hackney and where we went in that time.
As
But
much as people
because
like
they
to think there
started,
were, there was, it wasn't
right,
as bad.
right, there wasn't. But because now they started taking a situation of art and then now start facing it like, well, you know what? Maybe I can do that. And they start basically using that art and imitating it and then making it become real life for themselves. Then literally it started to change the culture and the mindset and society and how society viewed people. Because then you went from a case where probably there weren't being a lot of minorities weren't getting stopped by the police for things, in general. Now you started a situation now where you did start getting stopped by the police because they started thinking, oh, well, now this is starting to happen, and they're linking it to the music. Remember, it wasn't that long ago when they used to wanted to like ban certain music, rap music, things like that, because they thought it
Tracks.
was actually responsible for a rise in violence and things like that or whatever, which you can't really blame the music, because at the end of the day, it would be the same as saying, well, because you watch that film, you're going to go out and be a superhero tomorrow and you're going to start shooting laser beams out your eyes or whatever. It's an art, and if people can't realize, differentiate the difference between what's on the screen, what someone is saying has happened to them, and then saying, well, that's really happening, it's happening to me. It's not happening to you because you're not living that life, but that's what's happened, and literally it started to change the culture. So it shifted reality and society's view on a lot of things and a lot of people. Where before someone would see a guy on the bus with a hoodie, you didn't think nothing. Now when you see a guy coming on the bus with a hoodie, you're thinking, oh, he might be robbing me, he might have a nut, he might have this, he might have that, because of what they see from music and what people started to then imitate that art form and taking it into the reality of their society and what's going on around them, their community.
So Dave, let me stop you there. Otis, what do you think?
About
Just in general, like, was it a more positive vibe, do you think, back then compared to now? Not that we go out now, so it's hard for us to say, but
I think the 90s is when it started. The 90s, there was seeds
on the cusp
planted. Yeah, there were seeds being planted. Because I remember I used to, I don't know, I've got one of them faces, where people, people would say, okay, we're going out to this rave. Oh, it's come, no, this rave is just a crazy place. I don't like it, but you
just pick up on that vibe.
Yeah, you've got one of them faces. You will like it. I'm like, okay, I'll go and check it out. Yeah, we'll go. The first rave I went to was in Holborn. Some guys that were older than me, and they dragged me to come. Yeah, you're gonna like it. Yeah. I think we had to take tube. We had to get dressed. We went into this jungle rave. I was too young to be in there. I didn't even know that you're supposed to buy drinks and stuff. I didn't know where I was going. I was just going to listen to drum and bass. Yeah. Went there, and we were just standing up, just like this, just standing up, and no one was dancing. I wanted to dance, but the other guys didn't want to dance because they're on a gang thing. So yeah, we just stood up waiting for the evening to pass us by, and and that's what happened. And it was like, wow, So these, I think the seeds of what we, the crime and stuff started in these kind of, because afterwards drum and bass raves started, people started to shoot up the clubs and you couldn't go to them. Then they locked off all the dances, garage, then they locked off all the garage dances. So some of the jungle raves that I went to in Holborn and places were the seeds of these crap nights. Yeah, and it just got worse, where people from our school or whatever, say no names,
we'll keep it anonymous.
Yeah, had, when they would go out, you can imagine what happened, and it was going out with these people. So but as I said from the beginning, I really enjoyed the energy, the music with the energy or the club. So for example, take a track like in the 90s, you've got Chopper, drum and bass. It's a Chopper, it's a drum and bass tune.
Okay.
Everyone would have heard that tune. You would have heard it before, by Shy FX, and the intro is just basically it's just a drum and bass. The intro was just like a wind up of an aeroplane. So it's like chun chun chun. Then it would get faster and it would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're now ready to take, to lift off. Please fasten your seatbelts." And then the drum bass would come, tune would go, and it would just, So I really enjoyed that kind of energy. And in the 90s, they had a lot of that, which probably came from the 80s or the 70s.
I think it was hangover from the 80s.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the dance scene and the club scene, if I'd been born 5 to 10 years earlier, I think I would have enjoyed clubbing a whole lot more.
Than now.
I think for me it would have been the 70s. I think for me that would have been my era right there. The 70s. And flare trousers right there.
Chilling with Prince Hakeem and Semi.
The Soul Train Awards, literally, that was just magnificent.
I could see myself doing the Soul Train back then if I was born in that era.
Doing the whoop-de-whoop.
Yeah, it was just. I think it was just a cool. Again, people are products of their environment. So everyone, if you look at the mindset of a lot of people back then, was completely different. They're more chilled and laid back or whatever. Because you go back to our era, like I said, when you look at the 96 coming into 97 era for us at school. That's when you had the merging of Hackney Downs with Homerton, and based on again the culture back then with, for instance, music and everything else, and the films. Literally, because we all tend to watch a lot of these, American films, and a big part of the film industry back then in terms of black films, it's a lot of gangster films. This is my block, this is my hood, I'm repping this, and again, people tend to buy into that mindset. So you had, for instance, when the guys came from Hackney Downs and they came to Homerton. They came with that mindset, we're going to try and take over this school type of thing, literally, so they came this is our block now type of thing or whatever. And us guys, it was the old school, the ones who was no, because by then we were now the big boys in the school, because at this point now, we're now the year 10s going into year 11s. So the year 11s who was then leaving, literally they were leaving, so we were going to be the new guard, literally running things. So
handed the throne over.
You're not gonna, so you're not gonna, if you come into our house and take over, then we will have no say, and that was not going to happen or whatever. So once we had to, lay the law down and let them know that's not happening or whatever, and they literally kind of fell in line and it was more like a team, we're friends now. I mean, I think it did kind of help.
To be honest, I don't remember going like that at all. I remember us just getting our asses handed to us, in all fairness. But,
they never tried it. I remember when, for instance,
okay, let's just leave this for another day.
No, I'm just saying, we have to demonstrate that, we're not punks. But again, it just goes back to what I'm saying about with the music and the culture, because in that era you had where a lot of the gangster music or the, the films was more
by
about,
then I left,
this
didn't
is
it?
my
I left
block.
by
Yeah.
then, I think.
Yeah, you had left, but you had moved by then.
Yeah.
But it was more like, this is my block. So literally, because you're shaped by what you partake in, you come with that same mindset. So they came with that mindset, like, yeah, we're now taking over type of thing because of what you're listening to. Which again, it goes to show that what we do watch and do listen does in a way kind of influence how we may actually behave in society. I'm not saying it's responsible, because we are responsible for our own actions, but it literally is a blueprint of how people will look and say, well, if that works there, then maybe I can do it here and I can do this. And, so that's what happened.
Yeah, so we've nearly done an hour and a half. So I think that was a good chat, guys. That was a good chat. I think let's finish it off by looking at some of the other number ones, which were in the charts whilst we were at school during 96 and 97. I'm not going to read them all out, but there was a few here. So let's start from the bottom here. The Prodigy, Firestarter. Big tune for me. That was a great song.
Yeah.
It's a hyper
scary.
tune. So
I thought it was scary, literally. Like, the white dude with the makeup and the hair like to the side, like,
Keith Flint, rest in peace.
Yeah, he passed away recently, didn't he? A few years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
But,
he was just like, wow, like,
I had neighbors who looked just like him. Yeah.
Apparently he was a very nice man as well.
I've heard that. He's
always offered you a cup of tea if he popped around.
Really cool dude or whatever. But again, it goes to show what we say, isn't it? Sometimes the image that people portray is not exactly what they are, because he looks like a scary dude. Like, he'd be like, nope, I don't want him as a neighbor, and he's like, the nicest, probably one of the nicest persons.
Yeah. I mean, I had just to jump on this quickly. The neighbor who, back in the 90s, the punk rockers with the black leather jacket with Tipex all over, they're writing words all over their jacket and buds and stuff. Big, massive boots, skinny jeans, green,
Doc Martens,
and the green and the white. This one had a missus as well, who was also a punk rocker with all the spikes and stuff. And one day I came back home from Homerton, came back home locked out. I didn't have the keys. No one's at home. The punk rockers walk past. You all right? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. They're like, oh, come into ours, and wait until, your family come. This is probably like first or second year.
Yeah.
So I'm in there. I go in there. You might remember back in the day in the 90s, like certain houses were looked like squatters, but they weren't squatters, but they were arty-farty kind of, just tie-dye things all around. That's how the house was. I remember seeing like bits of ash and maybe drug stuff or something like that. But they were really nice and friendly, and I waited there. They offered me tea, coffee, drink, water, and they were fine. They just left me to watch TV. And then, and then afterwards I went back home. So
it's good. Yeah. Good community spirit, man. Good community spirit. Nice. The next one, Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Telford loved that tune. Yeah.
Telford still love that tune.
I don't know about that now, but yeah.
It still plays now. It was in something recently,
it did make a comeback, didn't it?
Okay. Yeah, like recent, like in the last few months, I saw something where they're talking about Mark Morrison. I was like, wow, they're still talking about that and that song or whatever. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think it did make a comeback. For some reason, the Fugees, Killing Me Softly.
Oh yes,
is that 90s?
I've got to say,
because remember that was from Sister Act 2. That's where we first saw Lauryn Hill, and then from Sister Act 2, then she came out with the Fuji and that other dude that sang in "Oh Happy Day." Remember, he also had a group as well.
Brandy's brother or something like that. That was
no, that's Ray J. No, the one who did "Whole Happy Day." Yeah, he had like a little chin, and he had like kind of like the little Muslim hat thing in
the soft
in Sister Act, and he was also in a group as well that came out around the same time as the Fugees. Because I remember, because he was also one of the ones from Sister Act 2 that came out and did a song, and they did pretty well as well. But like he faded away. But then obviously Lauryn Hill's star just went up and up and up. Yeah. I mean, Killing Me Softly, her version of Killing Me Softly, which was the first time I actually heard Killing Me Softly before I heard the original.
Yeah.
Her vocals was just like unmatched on there, and it was just so effortless, literally.
The whole album.
Obviously,
the whole album.
yeah. I mean, obviously, in a music video, you don't see much because you just think, but it just looks just as how she looks chilled out in the music video, like, you know, where she's in the cinema just chilling, eating popcorn and singing. That's exactly how she sang. She sounded like she was just chilling and singing. That's just how good her voice was. So yeah, that was an amazing song.
Yeah, they had a second number one in '97 as well with
Ooh la la la.
no, it wasn't that one. Ready or Not.
Do what? Oh,
Ready
Ready
or
or
Not.
Not.
That's it. Yeah. That was big.
That great song about playing hide and seek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peekaboo.
Yeah, but then we can also see now that things are getting a bit bad as well, because suddenly we've got people like the Spice Girls, Gary Barlow, Boyzone, Robson and Jerome.
Remember, that was like the big war, wasn't it, back in the day? Like, you know, for the boy bands in the UK. E17 versus Take That.
I think this is the point now where we can really see that actually this manufactured type of music is really starting to take over the mainstream. And after this,
I'm not gonna lie though, there was some Take That songs that I like Relight My Fire. I love that song. I ain't never gonna lie. Relight my fire.
You can listen to the original, it's fine.
Love's my only desire. Oh, trust me, I'll be cutting shape in the front room today. Because I need your love. Yeah.
You two should become a Take That tribute act. It would be amazing.
Chicken.
And then in 97, I mean, I think real music does make a slight comeback, but we've already lost.
We've lost the war, man.
Yeah, we lost the war at this point.
And I think that's why hip hop now has come, because we had pop for too long. We had so much pop, Britney Spears, and
oh, baby.
Oh man, you know, it killed us with that. And then hip hop started to come in a bit more, and now hip hop is killing us. It's overkill now.
Do you know what I think happened as well? Hip hop had to adapt to the poppiness as well.
At first.
And that's why I think you've got things like Puff Daddy with his kind of really commercialized style of hip hop. Because you've got to remember, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs is respected now. But back in the day, I think it's only respected now because of nostalgia. Back in the day, like other hip hop guys proper used to hate on him because they thought he was commercializing it too much with his lazy sampling.
Disrespected rap because he wasn't really great. What he would do like what most rappers do now when they're in movies. They'd surround themselves by great talents, so that would actually not show their flaws. Because you look at Puffy, there was not a Puffy track that was him solo. It was always with someone else in it. Yeah. You know, he'd actually have a rapper in it or an actual group that was singing like 112, like Faith Evans. So they would actually cover. Yeah, they would actually cover what he can actually, you know, his flaws he wouldn't get exposed as much because there's other people on there to actually save, you know, like completely save the track.
So yeah, we had other stuff. So Puff Daddy and Faith Evans with "I'll Be Missing You" was number one as well. Obviously, Biggie Smalls was murdered.
After his murder.
I didn't like Biggie. I didn't like Biggie's tunes. I don't know why.
Well, you know what? I didn't know Biggie until when he was dead. I literally didn't know no Biggie song until he was like literally dead. Like when he died, and then they came out with "Hypnotize." That was the first song of Biggie that I actually heard, which I actually thought that was actually pretty cool or whatever. I thought, you know, it was a cool song. And then I listened to his album, that same one. His album was it Life After Death?
Yeah.
I think that's what that one was called. And he had a song on there with Bone Thugs and Harmony, which was actually really, really cool.
Yeah, what was that again?
Do
you remember?
It's Bone and Biggie. That's what I remember. That's all.
Biggie. Yeah. Biggie.
The Dangerous. Ain't too many can hang with us. Straight up, we know hang with us. Yeah, something like
Biggie raps in the Bone style, innit? Yeah.
Right, style, yeah. That was actually a cool track or whatever. So I actually like definitely enjoyed that. But again, you know, the hip hop, it was like hip hop R&B was like merging, and it was kind of reaching its peak before it would then kind of go down again, because it did reach its peak there until about, you know, between say 95 to 2001, and then it was more about collaborations now. So you had like Sean Paul coming out in 2002, and it was more like Bashment Dancehall started coming back and going big, which was between 2000 to 2006, and then it was again hip hop, and then dance music took over. Between 2008 onwards, it was more dance music, like the European dance music.
So we'll get onto that era in our next musical history podcast. But to finish off, so end of 97, we're all 16 years old, we're all about to leave secondary school. And we've probably maybe even left by now, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's our last year, I reckon, of secondary
we
school.
left June 97.
And listen to the last 5 number ones of 97. And I think this sums it up perfectly, how our innocence is dying away. And actually the innocence of the music industry is dying away at the same time.
As well, yeah.
So actually the last 6 number ones are Spice Girls, Spice Up Your Life, followed by Aqua, Barbie Girl, followed by various artists doing Perfect Day, which was for charity, so whatever.
Okay,
Teletubbies with the great song Teletubbies Say Eh-Oh, and then lastly Spice Girls Too Much. I think
I saw Sporty Spice the other day, when I was in London. I saw her the other day.
Did you say
she can actually sing,
Yeah.
She can actually. I was listening to one of her songs. You know that I thought that we could just be friends. Things would never be the same again.
I think there's a lot of studio trickery in that song, David, if you play it back properly.
You think so?
Yeah, I reckon there is.
Spice, what's her name? That's the
Melody
Spice one,
Chisholm,
right?
I think. Mel C.
Yeah, Mel C. I think she probably can sing. I mean, Scary Spice, who always, because now she's one of them judges in one of these, like I think it's like American Got Talent, who's critical and she can't sing. She critical and she can't sing, which I found astounding. That you got so much to say when you ain't really got that talent, but whatever. But I think that Mel C, she actually had a voice in her. That song was a really good song. Maybe it is, a lot of studio works and everything else. But let's face it, if these trap music people can get away with using all these auto tunes and making number ones, then I'll give her a pass, considering there was no auto tunes back then, and she did that, and that sounded
back then really they could still do a lot of things to your voice in the studio back then as well.
Sure, but at least it was a good song where it actually had a lot of substance to story. But when you listen to sipping on, Percocet, Oti and Percocet, and then that's a number one. I think I'll listen to Mel C over that.
Well, this is the thing. I think what's happened is that with the music industry, so those last 6 songs or 5 songs which I mentioned, those artists are now the ones deciding who the great artists are of today, and they're like,
sorry to cut you.
So we've got a brain drain now when it comes
to musical
those songs
that you're mentioning are all for UK. They're not worldwide number one. That's just in the UK.
Okay, let's get up the 97 number ones for the US quickly.
Yeah, for the US, because them songs would not be even in the top 10 in the US charts. That's a fact. It probably would have been Biggie with Hypnotize, because that was 97, because that was after he died.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been about March. He died in March, isn't it? So it would have been about April, which is near enough when we're finishing secondary.
Yeah, okay. So
that would have been one around them times.
So in the Billboard 100, going in reverse order. So in December, we had Elton John, Candle in the Wind.
Okay, yeah.
Number one for ages, because obviously that was when Princess Diana had passed away.
Died,
Before that, it was Boyz II Men, 4 Seasons of Loneliness, which I don't remember.
That's when they returned after being gone for 2-3 years.
Mariah Carey with Honey before that.
Yeah, that's when she started going hip hop, when she started linking up with Puff Daddy.
Okay, then you've got some more Puff Daddy with Mo Money, Mo Problems with Biggie.
Yeah.
And Mace. Oh, by the way,
Mace.
Yeah. Mace, Jesus Christ.
Give Mace his props. You know, they said that he wrote all of the stuff.
Did he?
He wrote all of the stuff, like including Puffy's verse, and even wrote for a lot of other artists. They were talking about him. He did an interview recently, and people didn't realize how talented he was. Actually, the talent behind it. He just didn't get the body because Puffy did what Puffy did.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Puffy puffed it.
Yeah. Before that, then you've got I'll Be Missing You, and then before that, you've got Handsome with Bop.
Yeah.
That one.
Then you got Biggie. Then you got Biggie with Hypnotize.
See, I
Then
told
before
you.
that, you've got Puff Daddy featuring Mace with Can't Nobody Hold Me Down.
Yeah.
Then you've got Spice Girls Wannabe. So the Spice Girls were transatlantic. And then you've got the last entry, well, the first entry for 97 was Tony Braxton, Unbreak My Heart.
Break my heart. Yeah.
True.
I mean, it feels like in America, like Puff Daddy just taken over. Looking at that.
Because he was piggybacking off the whole death of Biggie, and literally, you know, he was just getting a lot of the sympathy, you know, support from the public, and they were just buying anything that he was pushing out, because once he did I'll Be Missing You, where it seems like he was really torn up about his friend, his prodigy, that, you know, like that got taken away early. And you also had that big East Coast versus West Coast thing. So, you know, literally he went very, very far. That's why, I mean, I'm surprised that the Spice Girl had one song in there, but again, they were universal at that point. So I mean, but you see the big, you know, you see the big difference between what the
I can see the difference, but I can still see Puffy dominating with his brand of hip hop, and I can still see the brain drain kind of the musical brain drain taking place on both sides of the Atlantic because of that.
Yeah, but I think I would take
I'll take the American.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll take that American top 10 any day.
That kind of thing. Are you mad? Barbie World, seriously.
That was a tune. Hey, Barbie World, Venga Boys. You know,
the Venga Boys are coming.
Because you have to think of the little kids. They got to listen. They can't be listening to Shoot Up Gangsta, Biggie, and P2Pac. They've got to think, the Venga Boys are coming.
Yeah, but Otis, also remember that Magic Roundabout kiddie show, you know, the theme song that we all thought was all fun and dandy for kids is actually about getting high. It's actually about getting high, like, you know, from weed. So
that's
you know.
Yeah, the Venga Boys song.
Well, they did say they came out and said that, didn't they?
Yeah.
So I think we'll knock it on the head now. We've done an hour, nearly an hour 40.
Yeah.
Which is what I expected this to last, to be fair. Any last comments? I think we'll do this again, but we'll do it. We haven't even talked about my musical influences during school. So, I mean, it's not that interesting, to be fair.
Well, you didn't want to share it, Manny P, hence why you chose to be the...
No, because if I started talking about my stuff, we'd still be here at midnight. So I was just trying to give you and Boho Chevy, and this is Boho's debut as well, and the wonderful debut it was as well.
Yeah, we need to do something about his name, though, because they can't see the full Chevy, because it's being covered by the live stream.
Boho Shay.
Well, I could start paying the subscription for StreamYard and have that removed.
Nah, allow it.
You guys have to chip in as well for that.
Yeah, we'll stick to the free.
Yeah, we'll stick to the free one for the time.
Already dropped out my pay for 6 weeks.
Just so everyone knows, Davian has given me a reaction for a new LP song, which was filmed on Easter Sunday. However, it won't be uploaded today because it's 20 to 10. After I end broadcast, I'm going to crawl into bed, Davian. I'm sorry. And watch.
So sorry, Bell, and everyone else who's waiting for that. It is not my fault. It is Duke of Homerton, and as he's royalty, I've got no say.
Exactly. Oz, have you got any music reactions coming up?
Yeah, I've got a South African song that I will be reviewing.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. Big up Dowdy. It's been referred to to Mani, and it's from Dowdy, so I'm looking forward to it. Just
so everyone knows, Dowdy isn't a Veya man, but he is an honorary Veya man.
Yeah, you need to get the little Veya man card.
Yeah,
you know, he can just whip it out when someone stop him. Like, yes, actually, I am. You know, I am Veya man 1.0, the first of many.
Dowdy gets into all of our VIP sections with us.
Literally, yes,
definitely, 100%. So I've been looking at some of the comments for some of my music reactions. God, I'm getting a lot of hate on the Azalea Banks reaction I got.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I listened to it. I listened to the song, and I mean, I wouldn't say she's like someone I'd say go out. Oh yeah, we're running by it, but it wasn't horrible.
Dowdy's actually here, by the way.
Hey, what's up, Davi?
What's
Yeah,
up,
going by today's standard with music, I didn't think it was bad compared to if I had to listen to that or some of these other kind of stuff there. It's not so bad or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just very grumpy when it comes to music, and I'm a bit of a snob.
No, but nothing's wrong with that. That's your opinion, which is what reactions is about. And it's great. Like I said, I don't mind if I get even negative comments, because it means that you took the time to listen to what I'm saying, and you had you came with your own opinion on my opinion. So that's great, because that's why we put it there, to have, all the viewers who view it leave their opinions and say what they think, which is great.
Yeah.
We're not offended in anything, so we take everything on board. So keep it coming.
And the things as well, like, I think a lot of music reactors, because when someone's searching for music reaction about one of their favorite songs, they're hoping to find somebody positively reacting to that song.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest, we can't, because we're honest people, we can't guarantee every song we're going to listen to is going to be a positive reaction, because we just don't know until we listen to the song. So it's better we be honest, I feel.
Of course.
And
We're genuine. We're not faking it. Yeah, we're not faking anything we're doing. Everything we're doing is real. Like most of the reaction, like the one I did today, because it's still daytime for me. I mean, it's now 3:45 for me in the afternoon. I did that one earlier today, Easter Sunday. And again, it was the first time when I actually did it, which was recommended by one of our subscriber who left a comment. I actually did it, listen to the song while I was reacting was when I actually was listening to the song. So I had no prior knowledge of the song. So I gave my genuine opinion on the song while I was listening to it, and so far the songs that I've been given, I've actually enjoyed them. So, I can't complain.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, there's been
rest assured, if a song sucks, I'm going to say it sucks.
Good.
If it's in my opinion.
Good. That's what I'm paying you for.
Yeah. Or not paying me this week.
But so everybody say goodbye.
Yes, this is David P out. Stay safe.
This is Bohey Chevy.
And remember,